Hello everyone, welcome to the daily news analysis of nextias. This is Varun. Today we will discuss 5 important articles from two newspapers, The Hindu and Indian Express. So the first article will be regarding explained section of our prelims. It is about Delhi Assembly election and regarding the election of speaker. It has covered into The Hindu newspaper itself. Second article is regarding our strategy on fertilizer. This article has come into Indian Express newspaper. And again, third article is again in Indian Express newspaper. It is regarding our tea horse road. And fourth article is regarding India's textile industry, which has covered into our Indian Express. Beside it, our regular decoded main section is regarding right to information, which has come into the Hindu newspaper. Now we will discuss our first article about speaker election in Delhi Assembly. So this article has come in the backdrop of Vijendra Gupta has been elected as the Speaker of Delhi 8th Legislative Assembly on Monday. The headline of the article is Gupta elected Delhi Assembly Speaker, MLAs take oath in Maithili, Sanskrit, Urdu. So this article has come into our The Hindu newspaper. What is the relevance of this article? So the relevance of this article in prelims examination is regarding Indian polity and constitution. Now let us understand about the election of process of speaker. Article 178 of the Constitution of India specifically specifies and mention about the speaker in legislative assembly. Every legislative assembly of a state shall, as soon as may be, choose two members of the assembly to be respectively speaker and deputy speaker thereof. And so often as the office of speaker or deputy speaker becomes vacant, the assembly shall choose another member to be speaker or deputy speaker as the case may be. This is exact provision in the constitution itself, which gives about that there should be two members, one should be speaker and second should be deputy speaker, should be choose among from the members itself as soon as possible. Now, what is the process of holding election? Let us see what the process has been given to this. Constitution does not specify. So the question itself can be asked in the prelims examination that constitution gives the process of election of speaker, but the constitution does not specify any process. It is left to the state legislature itself, and constitution also does not provide a time frame other than it just say elections should be held as soon as possible. The exact term used in the constitution is as soon as possible. The rules for the election of a speaker are formed by legislative assembly. So the question on this can be framed that the rules of the election of a speaker is framed by either president, governor, or even they can mention about parliament, or they can mention about that it is already given in constitution. So you have to be careful that all these are wrong. The rules are framed by legislative assembly itself. Date of election. The date of a speaker's election is notified by the governor in the context of state legislative assembly. We have to understand this. Now, let us move ahead and discuss some other provisions and nuances. There is no separate oath to the office of a speaker because a speaker already is the member of house. So, what happens? Each member of the house, either in parliament or in legislative assembly, they have to take the oath. So, there is no repetition of oath when they are going to be selected as a speaker. What is the term of the office of the speaker? So, it is coterminous with the life of the legislative assembly. Whatever the life of the legislative assembly, normally it is said that it is 5 years. So it is coterminous with the life of legislative assembly. There is also article 180 which provides power of the deputy speaker or other person to perform duties of the office or to act as a speaker while the office of the speaker is vacant. So there may be chances that office of the speaker itself is vacant. So what will happen in that case? All the powers will be exercised by deputy speaker or any person who is being designated by the house itself as the speaker. During the absence of the speaker, now this is different. Absence is different from non-existence of a speaker itself or non-selection of a speaker itself. So during the absence of a speaker from any sitting of the assembly, the deputy speaker or he is also absent, such person as may be determined by the rules of the procedure of the assembly, or if no such person is present, such other person as may be determined by the assembly shall act as a speaker. So in the case of absence, what is the provision basically? It is just like either deputy speaker will do the functions or perform the function, and even if the deputy speaker is also absent, what will happen? The rules of the house will give some members to work as a speaker, and even if there is no rule, then house itself can make some rule regarding who will be presiding officer. Beside it, there is also concept of pro tem speaker. Pro tem speaker is basically the member who helps to take the oath, and it also post election during first gathering, the pro tem speaker is responsible for calling the house and managing oath. Beside it, pro tem speaker basically is the person who is most senior person in the MLS. Now let us discuss something else, like the same provision is also for the speaker of Lok Sabha. So how speaker of Lok Sabha is elected? Article 93, like in our that case it was article 178, which was giving provision for speaker in the state legislative assembly, whereas article 93 in the case of Lok Sabha. So speaker of Lok Sabha is elected by the Lok Sabha from amongst its member. Date of election in this case is fixed by President of India. In case of state legislative assembly, it is governor. The date is kept as soon as possible. This term is important. There is no time frame, only the constitution mentioned as soon as possible after the first sitting of the house. Now let us through a PYQs try to understand which type of question has already been asked and which type of question can be asked. So the question is, consider the following statement: the Speaker of Legislative Assembly shall vacate his or her office if he or she ceases to be a member of the assembly. Whenever the Legislative Assembly is dissolved, the Speaker shall vacate his or her office immediately. Which of the statement given above is are correct? This is a PYQ question. This is our humble request. Kindly mark your correct answer in our comment section. There has been another article in our today's section. The article is regarding Simlipal Tiger Reserve. This article we have covered in our explained section on 7 Jan 2025. So you can refer the video and understand about Simlipal Tiger Reserve. Now let us start with another article. It is regarding strategy on fertilizer. The backdrop of this article is India is seeking alternatives to reduce reliance on imported fertilizers like urea, diammonium phosphate, that is DAP, MOP, that is muriate of phosphate, for better nutrient efficiency and foreign exchange saving. This article has come into Indian Express newspaper. The headline of article itself is Strategy on Fertilizers. This is relevant for our agriculture section in prelims examination. The trend regarding fertilizers can itself be asked. Now let us understand what the news is about. So the article says urea, DAP, that is diammonium phosphate, and MOP, that is muriate of phosphate, are heavily imported from foreign nation. So India depends on foreign countries for these important fertilizers which are being used in our agriculture field to increase the productivity and yield of the crops. And this import affects India's foreign exchange. Now for MOP, let us discuss about MOP, urea and DAP, that how the dependency is in which countries. The article itself has mentioned these things. So MOP fully imported from countries like Canada, Russia, Israel. So this itself can be asked as a prelims examination, that the statement can be MOP itself is fully imported or partially imported from other countries. Then about urea, only 85% demand is met by domestic production. So 85% production is through domestic production, but the problem with this urea itself is that it is dependent on LNG. LNG is required to produce the urea, and India is heavily dependent on import. So here there is indirect dependency in case of urea also. Diammonium phosphate, it is imported both as finished product and raw materials also. So in case of diammonium phosphate, both it is sometimes we also import it as a finished product, rather sometimes also we import it as a raw material. In raw material case, like rock phosphate, sulfur, phosphoric acid from various countries. Now let us understand, there is a key term, high analysis fertilizer. So what is high analysis fertilizer has been mentioned in the article itself. So these are fertilizers that contain a high concentration of a specific nutrient, and those specific nutrients are mostly related to NPK. NPK means nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. So whenever the concentration is very high regarding NPK, either nitrogen, phosphorus or potassium, it is called as high analysis fertilizer. Now there are some common types of high analysis fertilizers like urea. Urea has 46% of nitrogen in its content. So that's why it is a high analysis fertilizer. Same with diammonium phosphate. It has 46% phosphorus. In urea it is nitrogen, now it is phosphorus, and 18% nitrogen. Whereas MOP, that is muriate of phosphate, 60% constituent is our potassium. So these make these three as a high analysis fertilizers. Now, there are some drawbacks regarding these NPK or high analysis fertilizers. First is there is nutrient imbalance due to overuse. So what happens? This has been observed over the period of time. Indian farmers are mostly using either urea or DAP or MOP, and which has a higher percentage of one of the constituents. Like in urea, it is nitrogen 18%, 46%. So what happens? This creates imbalance itself in the soil health, and that causes also problem of leaching and other things, as has been observed in Punjab itself. Unchecked use cause environmental harms also. It imbalances the nutrient cycle also, and ultimately there is also threat to biodiversity. Why is need for balanced fertilizers? How we can do that? So right mix of nutrients, like in case of primary nutrients are basically nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Similarly, secondary nutrients like sulfur, calcium, magnesium, and then there is micronutrients also, zinc, iron, copper, boron, manganese, molybdenum. So these all type of nutrients are required by plant for various purposes. Some help in transportation of water, some help in grow of roots, some help in grow of our fruits itself, seeds itself. So all and every type of nutrient is important for the purpose of plants growth. So in this context, we have to have a very good or right mix of all nutrients. Now, there has been a recent development which article says and highlights efficient alternative. One efficient alternative has emerged, like ammonium phosphate sulfate, that is APS. The article calls it APS. So what is the composition of APS? 20% nitrogen, 20% phosphorus and 13% sulfur, with lower phosphorus content but additional sulfur is there. So this highlights. Now we are seeing that nitrogen is reduced to 20%, in urea it is 46%, 20% only of phosphorus, whereas in MOP it is around 40 plus percent. It is exact term is 60% of phosphorus in MOP. So this help us to create a right mix. This is suitable for crops also. This APS, that is ammonium phosphate sulfate, is very suitable for crops like oilseeds, pulses, maize, cotton, onions, chilies and sulfur hungry crops. So this can be a better substitute, and this is also helpful to preserve our biodiversity. What are various benefits which has been highlighted in the article itself? It uses fewer resources, like the requirement of phosphoric acid and ammonia as compared to DAP has been reduced in this case. It also has lower cost, better nutrient balance for various crops, and India has become third largest consumer in recent last 3 to 4 years. The article highlights this trend also. So in prelims examination itself, they will ask what is APS, what is the term APS means, what is its composition. So that can be come in the form of a statement question. Now, what is the way forward for fertilizer industry itself? Fertilizer industry always face shocks whenever there is problem on the currency itself, because we are heavily dependent on import. So whenever there is problem regarding forex, for example, right now rupee is under the pressure to depreciate. So this creates our bill for forex payment, it increases, and that's why fertilizer subsidy goes up. So what is the way forward? Reduce the use of high analysis fertilizers like urea and DAP. Reduce dependency on imports by promoting APS, because APS we can itself manufacture at our own domestic industries. Government also has come up with neem coated urea so that its diversion to other sectors will reduce. Soil health card scheme. This scheme helps particularly to assess the nutrient status of soil and provide customized recommendation for nutrient management. So what happens through this scheme, government is trying that every land in the country should be mapped, and whatever the requirement of that, it should be given. As per the requirement of it, the fertilizers will be provided. Increased focus on organic fertilizers like ZBNF scheme is already being implemented. Zero budget natural farming. So these are some of way forward. Let us see a PYQ which we can consider as a framework to understand which type of questions can be asked. With reference to chemical fertilizers in India, consider the following statement. At present, the retail price of chemical fertilizers is market driven and not administered by the government. Ammonia, which is an input of urea, is produced from natural gas. Sulfur, which is a raw material for phosphoric and acid fertilizer, is a byproduct of oil refinery. Which of the statement given is or are correct? So this is our humble request. Kindly mark your answer in our comment section. There is another article regarding PM Kishan which has come into the Hindu newspaper itself, and the article is about in poll-bound Bihar, Modi initiates fund transfer for farmers. The article is mostly talking about fund transfer in PM Kisan scheme. This we have covered on 14 Jan 2025 of one of our daily news analysis initiative episode. Refer to this and understand the nuances. Another article which has come into the newspaper regarding Tea Horse Road. So the backdrop of this article is China's ambassador to India, Zhu Feihong, posted on X about the historic Tea Horse Road which spanned more than 2000 kilometers and connected China to India via Tibet. The highlight of the article, that is its heading, is the historic Tea Horse Road connecting India and China through Tibet. What is its relevance? So this article or this topic can be asked in our art and culture section of prelims examination as highlighted here. Now let us understand what the news is itself about. So Tea Horse Road. What is Tea Horse Road? A network of branching paths that begin in southwest China. In our map also we can say that this is the highlighted region, the red color, which highlights the complete network of branching which is known as Tea Horse Road. This Tea Horse Road network began in southwest China. Southwest China is this side. This is southwest China. Okay, this region is, and ended in the Indian subcontinent. Silk Road, there we all know about the Silk Road. It connected China to Europe, whereas Tea Horse Road connected India to China. So this itself can be asked the question. Tea from across China was transported to Zhejiang province. Zhejiang province is another name of Tibet. Then shipped to Kolkata via the Himalayan passes and sold in Europe, Asia on a massive scale. The news also says there were two main routes which were passing through Dali and Lijiang in Yunnan province before reaching Lhasa, which is capital of Tibet, and then branched into present day India, Nepal and Bangladesh. So these all regions were covered under this Tea Horse route. These routes were on difficult terrain. The terrain is very difficult because all we know there is plateaus, there is hills, there is mountains reaching an elevation up to 10,000 feet. That's a very huge elevation. Altitude is very high in this case. So that's why this particular route was difficult. Now let us understand about its origin. So origin of Tea Horse Road can be traced to the rule of Tang dynasty in China during 618 to 907 century. So this question itself can be asked, that which dynasty is related to Tea Horse Road origin. Buddhist monk Ying Jing had described Nalanda University in detail and also noted that there were trade between southwestern China, Tibet and India. So this substantiates that Tea Horse Road was in existence. Various types of goods like sugar, textiles and rice noodles which were coming from Tibet to India. So we have to understand that various type of specific goods like sugar, textiles and rice noodles flowed from Tibet to India, whereas horses, leather, Tibetan gold, saffron and medicine herbs went to China. So this itself can be a question, that which type of goods were coming from India to China and which from China to India. So already UPSC has asked such type of questions in context of other countries. So this is also a possibility. Let us understand about significance of this Tea Horse Road. So it fulfilled the demand of teen Tibetan nomads. This tea is particularly used by nomads. About the horses, the term is tea and Tea Horse Road. So tea is being used by monks. Horses essential for military and transportation two things, because horses were not native to central China plain. So that's why they were demand from, because other countries like India have those, so they were being imported from country like India. During World War II, the road was crucial for supplying China's front line as Japan controlled most of its coastline and airspace. During World War II, it became more important, but it has been declined after 1949 when Communist Party has been established in China. This has been replaced by modern road. So, because of the difficult terrain, this was over the period of time declined itself. Now, let us through a question understand which type of questions can be framed on this topic. Consider the following statement regarding the tea horse road. The tea horse road connected China to Europe similar to the Silk Road. It was primarily used to transport tea from China to Tibet and horses from Tibet and Yunnan to China. The third statement is route played a crucial role during World War II in supplying China's front line. Which of the statement given are correct? So this is our humble request. Kindly mark your answer in our comment section. Then there is another article regarding Uniform Civil Code. This has come again into the editorial section of the Hindu newspaper. The headline of the article is Fencing Out Interfaith Relationship in the New India. The article has been covered in our episode of Daily News Analysis on 18 Jan 2025. This is our humble request. Kindly watch the episode and understand completely about Uniform Civil Code. Now, we will discuss another article. It is on India's textile industry. This article has come into the newspaper in the backdrop. India's textile industry struggles with high costs, fragmented supply chains, and sustainability challenges. The highlight of the article is what's ailing India's textile industry and government's attempt to improve competitiveness. So this is the headline of the article. What is the relevance of this article in our examination? It will come under the economy section of the prelims examination. Now, let us understand some of the important facts regarding India's textile industry. First thing is about employment. So it provides about 4.5 crores people across various sectors. So it is not only telling about the facts regarding employment, about the basic raw material, rather complete supply chain of textile sector, which provides 4.5 crore. That's a huge amount of employment. Like cotton cultivation, spinning, weaving, stitching, exports, marketing, everything comes under this. Then about man-made fibers. India is second largest global production. So this itself can be asked as a question in prelims examination that India is first largest producer of MMF. That is a wrong statement. Similarly, what is the economic contribution? The article highlights that 13% it provides to industrial production, 12% to export. Its contribution in exports is 12%. That is very huge and substantial amount. 2% to GDP contribution. 2% of GDP also comes through textile sector. Then some facts regarding cotton production. 24% of global production happens in India itself. India and China are huge producer of cotton as a raw material. It is second in comparison with China. China is the leading producer of cotton. So this itself can be framed as a question. Now, there are some concerns in the article has been mentioned regarding India's textile sector. Textile manufacturing has contracted by 1.8% annually between FY20 to 24. Here in our graph, we can see that in FY22 it is around $44 billion and it has reduced to 37-36. Potential is $100 billion by FY30. So from this also we can see that there is a declining in manufacturing itself. Apparel exports have also decreased by 6.5% between same period, that is FY20 to 24. That is a cause of concern because India has a lot of persons who are dependent on this sector for employment. What are the various issues which are hindering its growth? First is higher production cost. So India basically loses to other countries like China, Vietnam, Bangladesh, which is our neighbor itself, on these countries basically on higher production cost. Then India's complete value chain is fragmented. There is some MSME, there is no vertical forward and backward proper linkages. There are linkages existing but data is not properly organized. So it is also fragmented, which again increases the cost. There is also regulatory complexity, or we can say regulatory cholesterol is also there. There are a lot of state laws, regarding land, labor, capital, which is again hampering the production of textile sector. Then cost of raw materials, that is cost of cotton itself, is increasing. There are various issues regarding production of cotton, like there is issue regarding its yield is also not that much. It has become stagnant over the period of time after introduction of BT cotton. India's logistical cost is high almost in each and every, which is again impacting the cost of production and cost of export in case of India's export of textile sector. Now, if these are the concern, what we can do or what government has already taken, there has been some particular schemes being launched by government. Let us see. First is PM Mitra. PM Mitra is Mega Integrated Textile Region and Apparel. So this again provides a holistic package to create very competitiveness in the manufacturing of textiles itself. Government has also launched PLI scheme for textile, that is production linked incentive is also being provided for this sector also. There is a scheme for capacity building in textile sector which is known as Samarth scheme. Then there is amended technology upgradation fund scheme. So this scheme basically provides capital for upgradation of technology in the case of MSME sector, because they don't have that much appetite for capital investment in particularly purchasing of technology. Then there is scheme for integrated textiles park. So what government is trying to do, create some textile parks where all facilities will be under one roof, and these all resources can be pooled by various industries, big corporation as well as MSME players. Then there is also FDI. The FDI is 100% FDI through automatic route is allowed. So that will also encourage investor to bring a lot of money. Then there is again, let us understand through a PYQ that how the question can be framed on this topic itself. With reference to textile industry, consider the following statement. India is the largest producer of cotton with 24% of global production. It contributes more than 25% to GDP. India is also the second largest producer of man-made fibers. Which of the statement given above is or are correct? So this is our humble request. Kindly mark your answer in our comment section. There is another article regarding FTA negotiation. This article has covered in two newspapers, The Hindu and Indian Express. In Indian Express, the highlight of the article is in shadow of US tariff, India back to table for trade talks with UK and European Union. In Hindu, the headline is India UK resume free trade negotiation. This article has been covered in our one of the episode of Daily News Analysis on 30th Jan 2025 in a very comprehensive manner on free trade negotiations. So kindly watch the article and understand nuances. Now we will discuss mains decoded article. It is regarding right to information. The article has come under the backdrop of Right to Information Act has been facing delays, reluctance and limitation on its scope. So this article has come into the editorial section of the Hindu newspaper. The article's headline is RTI is now the right to deny information. The article says that what the article has made a phrase that RTI is now right to deny information, that is RTI to RDI. What is its relevance? This topic can be asked in our GS2 paper of Polity and Governance in the mains examination itself. Now, there has already been a PYQ which has come on this topic. Let us see through it and understand which type of questions can be framed on this topic. The RTI Act is not all about citizens' empowerment alone. It essentially redefines the concept of accountability discussed. So this question has come in mains 2018. Now, on the basis of this, we will try to understand holistically about this topic. First, we will cover about the Act itself. Then we will go for the evolution of RTI. After that, we will also look into the importance or need of this RTI Act itself. What are various challenges arising into the RTI Act, and then what should be the path ahead to improve and to maximize benefit from this Act. So let us start with the Act itself. So this Act was enacted in 2005. Its main purpose was to empower citizens, and for what, how it will empower? By providing information regarding various functions, various things which has been going behind the screen, especially in the governance structure. It replaced various previous acts like right Freedom of Information Act 2002 was enacted, and it replaced completely that as a RTI Act 2005. RTI Act itself this year is completing 20 years because it was implemented in 2005 and now it is 2025. The coordinating agency for this particular act, this itself can be asked as a prelims question, DOPT, that is Department of Personnel and Training, under the Ministry of PPGP, that is Personal, Public Grievance and Pension. So this itself can be asked. This is a factual information. Now let us try to understand the background that will help us to understand evolution of this act, and which will help us to better understand its importance and some challenges also. So in 1950 there was an important case, Rumis Thapar versus State of Maharashtra. In Madras, in this case what happened, the Supreme Court held that right to freedom of press is very important and it is implicit in our constitution itself as a fundamental right. Now this provided a base for expanding and asserting that in right to information is also a fundamental right. Then in 1975, Raj Narayan versus Uttar Pradesh government case. It is a very historical and landmark case in which again right to information was declared as a fundamental. Then in 1994, what happened? Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan. This is a NGO which works at grassroots level. It campaigned for RTI in Rajasthan, state of Rajasthan. So this demanded from the state government itself that they should provide a RTI basis. It should be statutory. So that helped to further increase the demand not only to the state of Rajasthan, but it expanded over the period of time, as can be seen in 1996 formation of NCPRI. This organization provided a draft RTI law also, on the basis of which in future RTI can be framed and on what parameters government should provide statutory backing. Then in 1997, Tamil Nadu became the first state to provide RTI law. Before our RTI Act, which we know today, there was no uniform RTI law throughout the country. So states like Tamil Nadu take the lead in 1997. In 2005, before 2005, we already have heard about the freedom of this act, Freedom of Information Act, which was provided in 2002. But this act was not notified. It was only passed by the Parliament, but this was not notified. So in 2005, Parliament enacted Right to Information Act 2005, and this was also notified, which we use right now as a means or tools for information. Now let us understand what is the importance of RTI Act. First is, it will provide effective welfare schemes. It does not directly provide effectiveness. How it create more effectiveness? Now, there are a plethora of welfare schemes either by central government or state government. Those are implemented by district administration or state government, even sometimes in collaboration. So what happens? Various provisions are there, various funds are coming. RTI helps citizens to check, act as a check and balance whether the fund, whether the provisions which are there, they are being implemented in spirit or not. If there is fuzzing of data, if there is anything that can be exposed through this. Then issue of transparency, transparency in functioning, again transparency in funds, how funds are being utilized, whether the purpose for which it has been allocated, it is being used for that or not. So that is being used. Then it also empowers citizens. Now till the enactment of RTI Act, citizens were passive. Now they are actively involving into the governance, and they are asserting through RTI Act, taking information, and on the basis of information, if the administration is not properly working, they are highlighting those lapses. So it also provides a tool to empower citizens. Then it reduces corruption, as we have said that it is increasing transparency, it is improving effectiveness. So it is indirectly and directly both also hammering on corruption, because many a times what happen, there are a lot of fuzzing of various data, there are also diversion of funds for other purposes. So all these are being taken care. Then it also strengthened democracy, because the spirit of democracy always is that citizens should participate, and with this tool citizens become active from passive. Now, over the period of time, the article basically highlights about the challenges with RTI Act. The article has a key line: right to information was being converted into right to history. From right to information to right to history it has become. Now, how? The article has shown various challenges. Let us discuss first challenge regarding information commissioner. So, what is happening? Posts of information commissioners, who are final appellate authority, mostly taken by retired bureaucrats, taking it as a post-retirement job. So basically, the spirit behind the RTI Act was that those information commissioner can be anybody, but mostly it is being given to retired bureaucrats, and it is becoming a post-retirement job. Again, average disposal of cases is low as compared to High Court. For example, in High Court, a judge disposes around 2500 cases per year, and even information commissioners has less complicated case, but it is the disposal rate is less than as compared to High Court judge. There is no mandate of time limit for the cases with information commissioners, so this is also a lacuna. There is also reluctance on use of penal provisions, as given by RTI Act itself provides penal provision, but mostly this provision is being not used. Then there is delayed appointment of information commissioners itself by government. So that is also creating a problem and challenge for enactment and proper implementation of this act in the spirit in which it has been formulated. After that, the article also highlight other challenges like prejudices used against use of RTI and RTI users. So what has happened, that there has been a perception created that those who are using this RTI, they are mostly causing or hindering development, like exemptions under section 8. So this exemption is there, which says that nature of exemptions to section 3, which empowers the citizen with right to information, which is a derivative of freedom of speech. But Supreme Court in case of CBSE versus Aditya Bandyopadhyay has said that this has construed strictly, literally and narrowly. So Supreme Court what has done? It has narrowed its interpretation, the interpretation of section 8 exemption, and made it narrow, stricter and literal. Whatever it is written in section 8 for exemption, it should be literally taken. Beside it, there is also perception that it is excessively and impractically used. A lot of RTI being filed for even personal information, and that has created a perception that this is being misused. It reduces administrative efficiency and also distract from transparency, accountability and anti-corruption efforts. So those which are genuine efforts, sometimes the perception again that rather genuine cases, it is mostly used as a vendetta or misused to take out some benefits or to promote vested interests. RTI is sometimes also seen as a tool of operation or intimidation of honest officers. For example, if there is an honest officer who has gone beyond the duty and for that utilize some fund for other purpose also, even in an honest spirit, but the RTI Act, as it provides a lot of information, is being misused to harass that honest official, that why one should is doing good work. Some other important challenge is dilution of RTI Act over the period of time itself through various amendment in the Act. So what happened? The literal interpretation of exemption under section 8 has been promoted. Even in Girish Ramchand Deshpande case versus CIC in 2012, it categorized personal information broadly, making it harder to access details on public official. So Supreme Court basically interpreted that personal information could be an act of public activity, but this is the perception that many times what happens is some personal information which is in related to either any official may be due to the public act which they are doing, but when there is a RTI for this type of information, it is generally being denied, because in this Girish Ramchand Deshpande case, every type of personal information is being hindered. There is also subjective test of personal information by parliament should be there. Information which would not be denied to parliament would not be denied to any person. That should be the spirit, but this spirit is still not there and it is being diluted. This has been highlighted in the article itself. Now, as we have seen various types of challenges, let us understand what should be the way forward to effectively utilize this important tool. So first, we have to remove the ambiguities in this act, and exemptions under section 8 should be clearly mentioned. It should not be too much narrowly interpreted. Otherwise, even those informations which are even in nature of personal but arising due to public acts, it should not be put under behind the curtain. Then there is also issue of timely appointment of information commissioners. So there should not be any pendency or vacancy related to appointments. It also should promote transparency through a push of media and citizen. The basic objective behind this act was that it should provide ground level democracy in the form of participation of public itself. And because the RTI activists are being harassed, they are seen as a person who is hindering development and administration, so that perception should go away and public itself use it as in an easy way to expose corruption, to improve efficiency, to demand their rights. There should also be mandate on time limits of disposal of cases. So what should also be done, that there should be proper time limit, especially for disposal of cases by information commissioners. Now, let us discuss a practice question on this topic. Evaluate the impact of RTI Act on transparency and governance in India. What are challenges it faces in ensuring accountability? So, in introduction, we can mention about, like, it has completed 20 years itself, so we can mention about that, and aim and objective of the act itself for which it has been enacted. Then we will evaluate in body, we will evaluate impact. Its impact can be both positive impact and negative impact. So we will first highlight the positive impact, and in challenge section itself we will write the negative. We have already discussed various challenges. You can also refer those challenges itself. And then a way forward, as it is a 15-marker question and we are writing challenges, so after that you should write a way forward, and in the end you can conclude by a punchline that RTI, that Right to Information Act, should not become Right to History Act or Right to Deny Act. So this will be a punchline which will attract the attention of evaluator. Thanks viewer for watching this video. If you like our video, kindly subscribe it, like it and share it. Thank you.